Guardians of the Galaxy 3 is the best MCU movie since Spider-Man No Way Home because it's a movie that takes you on an emotional roller coaster. It has some of the best action in the MCU and a lot of other reasons that I'll get into in just a few moments. But make sure to like and subscribe if you enjoy this content or if you enjoy this video. Let's start off with the theater experience. I watched this movie in the second largest IMAX theater in Washington, and it was one of the best movie experiences next to like Creed 3 and Dune. This movie was definitely designed for IMAX, and it was definitely noticeable. When you're watching on the big screen and you see all the visuals and the action, it's just displayed so perfectly with some of the best cinematography. James Gunn is always a very visual director, and there's a lot of just great looking shots just in his movie. Watching it in IMAX was definitely doing justice to the story and the visuals and the spectacle of the film. There were shots so good that I legitimately teared up because of the music and the epicness of it. I felt it. I felt it. Don't judge me. It feels like this was the rejuvenation needed for the MCU right now. Ant-Man 3 didn't really do it for me. Thor 4 was like just alright. I feel like this is what we needed in order for us to continue to feel hope for the MCU. This was definitely a more emotional take of the characters. They focus a lot more on Rocket, and you see it in the trailers and stuff. And he's always just been one of the best characters in the MCU, but definitely of the Guardians of the Galaxy. And going into his backstory and seeing where he actually came from and just the whole story and the plot of the movie, you instantly feel that connection, you instantly feel that emotion, and you get locked into the story from the very beginning. It all just makes sense plot-wise, and you're always invested because of what's happening with the characters. But yeah, all the moments with Rocket and you see him in the early days, all those scenes were so emotional and you literally tear up in every scene. And yes, I did eventually shed a few tears, and that's the first time ever for any MCU movie to ever do that. Besides like the ending of No Way Home, I felt a little something, but in this movie I actually shed tears, which has never even happened. It's very rare for me to do that in a movie in general, and an MCU movie was able to do that. So this was definitely well done for sure, and you will feel stuff. And like the moment, before the third act, that emotional punch is like the emotion in that moment was basically what I wanted to feel in Avatar 2 during that moment as well. Regardless, that movie's still good, and this movie was just very effective in doing that emotional just attachment. I love the direction that they went with every character. There was a great conclusion to every single character arc, down to even like the lesser characters, like the guy with the fin and stuff like that. And you just feel like James Gunn is really just connected with the MCU and specifically these characters. You can tell that he wanted to make sure to do them justice, and they gave him more than enough time. I'm glad he waited 6 years, which is an insane amount of time, but I'm glad he waited 6 years to make this movie and just make it perfected and just get it exactly right, so that when he finally creates it, it's as good as it could be. It's like not every single person had like the 100% best arc, but at least you can tell that there is some meaning behind them based on their characters and things that they've done in the past movies. I love specifically also where they took Gamora and Peter, because after Endgame they set up a nice thing there, and watching that dynamic, seeing Peter try to interact with Gamora and seeing all that happen made a lot of sense, and there's a lot of good jokes there as well. It wasn't always 100% like, okay, you can relax, Peter, it's okay, just move on kind of thing. But also, once they got away from that, you definitely felt the emotions there. There's definitely a connection, and you can see Gamora sort of like understanding, like where he's coming from. Where that leads is just a very nice conclusion. The pace in this movie was definitely a lot stronger than the second film. That movie I rewatched a week ago, and the struggle so hard. Luckily, this movie was much more paced, better. I definitely like the balance between all the different plot lines. Sometimes you're not as interested in certain things, but at least it balanced really well. And the moments when they went into flashbacks to Rocket's backstory, it's not as jarring as you would expect. I thought it flowed a lot better than it should have. Last thing I want to talk about is just the villain of this movie. Obviously, he's not going to be the best villain. He's not going to be Thanos. But at least you understand where he's coming from, and he gives a nice reason for the characters to move. He's important for Rocket's past, and so just looking into that life and seeing him just act, the dude who played the High Evolutionary was really well done, and there's a lot of funny moments with him and thing, and there's specifically this great shot that I loved, just showcasing just his weirdness. But at least, at the very, very least, he's better than the dude from the first one. I don't even remember his name. And like, it's okay that the villain is not as perfect as all the other MCU villains, especially for this movie, because the point of the film is just to have that closure with the characters, be with them one last ride sort of thing, and then just having at least some kind of like reason for bad things to happen to them so that they can keep moving the story forward. I mean, where it went was just fine enough. I'm not complaining. I just enjoyed the story, and I just enjoyed the movie experience. Like, the point of this film is just to be with them and to just have that closure with all the characters, just complete their arcs, just in a nice, satisfying way for the director to move on to other projects. Because with him doing more DC stuff, obviously he has to transition out. And this film was just a nice movie to kind of rejuvenate your excitement for the MCU. There's no plan for Volume 4, and that's fine. That's okay. We can just enjoy these 3 movies and have them have a special place in our heart. Finally seeing this conclusion was just a very satisfying moment to experience, because it was just really well done and you get super emotionally invested, and that's what you want. There's some of the best action in all the MCU in this movie. Like, having that comedy sad tone fits right for Guardians of the Galaxy specifically. I feel like those were always the movies that had that comedy tone just right in the MCU. And this movie is, no exception to that. This is a very satisfying film, and I'd give it an 8.7 out of 10. Watch this in the biggest theaters you can. It was filmed for IMAX, so make sure you watch it in an IMAX theater. It's worth the extra ticket price. If you enjoy this video, make sure to like and subscribe. Hope you guys will enjoy. I've just been really busy, so yeah, hopefully more reviews soon.